the weak minds, they can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts.
Well, as everyone, or if no one knows, that Clark is a resident Bengals fan. So our leadoff question in the NFL is, obviously the Bengals completely waxed the Falcons this past Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
And Joe Burrow had a dominant performance. So Clark, and of course, Ethan, you're going to have to answer as well. Are the Bengals back to their Super Bowl form?
They certainly look it. I mean, look, I think what you've seen is finally an offense that has refound its identity. I think you see a quarterback who's finally, without no preseason, after having an emergency appendectomy surgery, he's finally feeling comfortable again. You're seeing an offensive line that finally is gelling together, and a play calling scheme that's starting to figure out what defenses are doing, and now defenses are having to adjust to them. Granted, I know people can say, oh, well, it was against Atlanta, it was against the Saints. Well, the reality is you have to beat who's on your schedule, and they've taken care of business handily last week, and they did their job against New Orleans the week prior. I think the Bengals are certainly looking like their Super Bowl selves last year. We talked about this on the show yesterday. I think one part of the Bengals that certainly does not get enough talk is the defense. I mean, this is a defense that has not allowed a touchdown in the second half for 7 games this season. They're the first team to do that since the 2000 Ravens, which is widely considered one of the best defenses of all time. Not saying it's what they're going to do, but this team looks really well-rounded. I think, again, Burrow's playing at the level I expect him to. Obviously, I don't expect him to drop 500 every week. The offensive weapons all on the outside are really humming. And again, I think it's stemming because Burrow, at first, I think was locked in on Chase. He really wanted to feed him the ball, but I think now he's starting to realize, wait a minute now, I have Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins and Hayden Hurst and Joe Mixon, who are all very capable of making plays on their own. And because of that, the ability to facilitate a more balanced offense is allowing for bigger plays to Chase himself. Because guys, their defense is like, oh, we can't just focus on him. We now have to go back to, taking on multiple assignments. I won't say like, oh, they're up to Buffalo or Kansas City yet. While I think they certainly can beat them right now if they played, I still need to see a little bit more consistency. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to with these teams. It's still early. But for the way that they've turned it around, they won 4 of 5. I feel really good with where they're at. I think you're finally seeing the team that played so well in 2021, and I think you're seeing a lot of what people expected to happen this year kind of come to fruition.
Ethan, what are your thoughts on the Bengals?
Yeah, I agree with mostly everything Clark said. I mean, we talked about it on the show. I don't know if I'd consider them Super Bowl contenders just because of where the Chiefs and the Bills are right now. I think the Bengals are finding their way back into that conversation. But right now, the Bills and Chiefs are just head over heels better than everyone else. Maybe besides for the Eagles in the NFL. Those are probably the top 3. And I think the Bengals are going to find themselves back into the conversation. It's just the Bengals hasn't played the quality of opponents the Chiefs and Bills have played. So it's hard to measure them up to that team yet. I mean, the Bengals, obviously, as Clark said, they're playing extremely well. You can't discount that. Jamar Chase is playing like the wide receiver number 1 right now. He's an absolute dominant player. T. Higgins, for all those haters out there that isn't top 30, get out of here. He's
people just saying ever heard this offseason.
Just get out of that conversation. Joe Mixon is running the ball well. They're doing enough to make plays, and Joe Burrow is playing at an absolute elite level. For everyone that's trying to discount him, and Clark and I went back and forth about this with, I will not name him, but somebody on Twitter who is a known Joe Burrow hater. Joe Burrow is a top 3 quarterback right now. There's no debate about it. He's playing at an extremely high level, and outside of Mahomes and Josh Allen, no one's playing better than him. So the Bengals are going to go far. It's just if they can beat the Bills and the Chiefs when it matters.
Yeah. I mean, I will say first, I mean, again, it's early on, but I think by the time we get to the playoffs, I would feel very confident in the Bengals' ability to beat either of those teams. I really would. I mean,
the thing is, I don't think where they're going to sit in the standings, I don't think they could beat both.
I think they could.
I do. I
mean, I'm looking at the Bengals schedule right now. I mean, next week they have the Browns. I think that's very winnable, especially with, Brissett as their quarterback. You have the Panthers. Yes, they just beat Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, but I don't think Tampa Bay is honestly on the level of Cincinnati right now. I think their offense is in shambles. You have the Steelers, the Titans. I don't think the Titans are that good. I just think they're in a really bad division. Then you have the Chiefs. That's going to be a test, but that's in Cincy. And then the Browns again, Buccaneers, Patriots, Bills, and then Ravens to finish it out. I mean, November, I think they could almost go undefeated in November and then start December against the Chiefs. So the Bengals could be a really good record. And Ethan, to your credit, it is a pretty easy schedule up until December, in my opinion. I mean, I think the Steelers have an okay defense, but I don't think they get gassed so early because they're on the field constantly because the offense can't keep the ball. So, that it's going to be interesting to see what they do in December for me. I think in November they're going to kind of coast. They might lose one of those just because they are trying to coast a little bit, trying to get everyone healthy. But overall, what I saw with that Falcons against the Falcons team, that was very encouraging, especially for a fantasy T. Higgins owner. That was very well
very
accepted.
Nice no, for sure. I mean, yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think the success is going to be mostly predicated on how much share, like what you were just alluding to, Clark, all the other receivers outside of Chase is going to get. Because as I'm looking at their stats right now, Boyd himself had 9 targets, which he's somebody that led this team in receiving even before Higgins and Chase. Yeah. So he's definitely a dominant piece. Chase and Higgins each respectively had a healthy target share along with Hurst, who is slowly being more utilized in this offense. And I think a lot of the concern was, I think a couple of weeks ago, was the play calling of Zach Taylor. So this, yes, it is the Falcons, but this Falcons team also beat up on a Tom Brady team. So take it for what it's worth. But I think if the play calling is right, and of course, Burrow stays aggressive, I think Burrow could help carry and propel them, because I actually picked them as an AFC favorite because I do think that there is something about Joe Burrow that could propel this team. He is that charismatic leader, in my opinion, that is going to help them. I think it's just going to be the play calling. And if this defense stays solid, I agree with you in a sense that in the playoff time, for some reason, if they have to play the Chiefs and Buffalo somehow, some way, I do think that Bengals will hold their own, if not win those 2 games. I know that they're two strong teams, but the Bengals are a team that will surprise you. You underestimate them and they'll make you pay. And their defense is one of those that no one realizes that for 7 straight games, they haven't allowed a second half touchdown. So, they're surprising a lot of people in that aspect. And I think a lot of teams aren't thinking they're on that level yet, but then here they go posting 35 on the Falcons. And they've also beaten teams like the Jets. They almost beat the Ravens, but they'll see them again later on this season. And the Ravens don't look so great. And the schedule gets easier, as Andrew pointed out. So I think this team, predicated on play calling and Joe Burrow, could see themselves back deep in a playoff run again.
No, I do have a lot of confidence. Again, I think they're still, they still have to keep beating these teams they need to. They need to take care of the Browns. They need to take Carolina. Obviously you got to win those games, but I mean, I feel confident. Again, a lot of things that I was hoping would come back to fruition have developed over the last 2 weeks. And I know, I get it, Kansas City and Buffalo. I think, yes, they are certainly above where Cincinnati is right now. But come playoff time, I would feel very confident. Because, again, I mean, people forget, the Bengals beat Kansas City twice last year. They did do that twice.
Yeah, but I would argue this is a better Kansas City team this year.
You can lie to yourself and say that, but
look,
they already. Okay, Ethan again.
So Ethan, what part of the Kansas? What part of Kansas City is better than?
They have more explosive plays this year than they did this time last year. Their offense is more explosive.
I'm asking you, what happened both times last year in the second half of Bengals and Chiefs games?
Again, they played well, but again, this is a
played well. They held Mahomes to 3-0 in the second half of both games.
Again, yes, that is true, but this is a different Chiefs team, and it's a little ignorant not to acknowledge that.
I'm not acknowledging it. I'm just telling you, it's a little ignorant to sit here and say, oh, well, the Bengals, I don't know if they might have a chance. They might have a chance.
I'm not saying they might have a chance. I'm saying if they have to beat the Chiefs and Bills, I don't think they beat both teams. That's just what I'm saying. I said
why wouldn't they? Why not? Why couldn't they?
Because they're not at the level of those 2 teams. Those 2 teams are dominant.
It's a comment like that. I just don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
What good quarterback have you played this season so far? If we really want to dive into it, you played Lamar Jackson and who else?
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson will have you know.
They didn't even play Zach Wilson. They played Joe Flacco.
That's great.
What are you talking about? They played Cooper Rush in week 2. What are you talking about?
Okay, now it's becoming Bengals bashing.
No, I mean I feel I know
Jacksonville.
I want to get in on Mahomes. I know it's going to be Allen Mahomes. I feel very confident they beat either of them.
If we're gonna
Sure.
overreact to huge wins, I was just praising the Bengals. But if we're gonna overreact to huge blowout wins, the Jacksonville Jaguars blew out the Chargers, and they have lost 4 straight games after that.
Yeah, well, it's because the Chargers are kind of bad.
Yeah, but if we overreact to blowout wins, things like that can happen.
Well, some people didn't overreact. Some people
I
held
know,
their
but then you incited me. You went after me.
What did I go after you about? What did I say about the Chargers?
You didn't say. I'm not talking about the Chargers. You went after me and acted like I'm a Bengals hater, even though I said I just don't think they'll beat the Chiefs and Bills in the playoffs.
They will. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
So
You
Clark,
guys
let's go.
barely,
Let's,
wait. You barely snuck out of the playoffs last year. You guys barely snuck out, and you guys made it to a Super Bowl and lost. And this is the way you're talking that you are better than the Bills and Chiefs now.
No, we're
Like,
not
two teams
better. But
that have
hold on.
combined
I
for
didn't say
3
better.
losses.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I didn't say we're better. You're asking me if this team that I believe that beat Kansas City twice last year, do I believe that they can go ahead and do it again? My answer is yes.
Yeah, but we're talking about they got to beat them twice again because they got to beat them in the regular season and in the playoffs.
Ethan, they did it last year. Why would I have any belief that they wouldn't do it again this year?
How many times have you watched a team in your division beat a team twice the year before and then lose one of the games?
I'm
That
telling
happens
you
all
what
the
I've seen.
time.
No, but it's because you act like this is some sort of impossible feat when it's not.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
I mean,
All
look,
right, so-
I'm telling you what I saw. This is that you can't tell me that there's just this is an inconceivable idea.
Wait, but they're 2 weeks removed from horrible play calling. And again, they played horrible quarterbacks so far. They've played only Lamar Jackson. And after Lamar Jackson has turned from his MVP performance, they haven't played one good quarterback.
It's okay. That's fine.
But if you're gonna act like this. If you're going to act like this team is now at the level of they could beat Josh Allen.
Again, when did I say that? When did I say that?
You said they could go into the playoffs and beat both of them.
I said they could. Yeah, that's not saying they're at the level. I'm saying they could beat them. Is that
But
such a sort of crazy
to
claim?
beat both, they have to be at that level. I mean, you can't beat both teams and be
And
worse.
we're talking at down the road at that point. I've said right now they're not. Down the road, I believe they will be.
All right, we'll see.